I used to almost exclusively sit down at my guitar and start writing. I was a bit more of a purist, like back in the day, like if it's a real good song, you should just be able to play it on the guitar and sing without production. And now I've learned over the years, there's no right or wrong, like whatever inspires you. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off dead.
Hello, my name is Gillian and you're listening to Are You an Artist? Today's episode is with Veronica Bianqui, and it's about music and songwriting, acting in LA, and mental health. I love this episode, I love Veronica's story, and I love that she sent me a recording of a song she wrote when she was 12, which will be a nice surprise in this wonderful conversation. Enjoy!
Yeah.
Dear Veronica, it was such a pleasure meeting you a couple of weeks ago during Alien Lion's performance. You struck me as incredibly cool and friendly. When I got home and listened to your album, I was blown away. I thought, wait, what? She's seriously amazing. You are an independent recording artist, songwriter, performer, multi-instrumentalist, producer, and live/studio engineer. You primarily write and produce for yourself, but you also collaborate with other artists. I found out that you have some acting experience as well. Thank you so much for coming. I am excited about this episode. And Veronica, are you an artist?
Wow. From the sounds of it, I am an artist.
Yes.
This has been great. I'll see you. Bye. No. Yes, I am.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would be like, nah.
That was so incredibly kind. Wow.
And
you.
You've got some stuff about you on the internet. So
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that it started quite early on, right?
Yeah.
That you would write your songs and...
Yeah, exactly. It started very young, before I could play an instrument. Spice Girls, TLC, in the 90s. I started writing songs when I was probably about 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, a big reason for that was the Spice Girls, because I knew they wrote their own songs. Of course, they had co-writers too, let's be real. But that inspired me. So I was like, oh, they write songs, so I'm going to write songs. And
That's so funny.
That's how it started.
What were they about? Your first song?
I think the very first song I probably wrote beginning to end was... So T-Boz from TLC, she came out publicly that she had sickle cell anemia, and I don't know how old I was, but I took one of her songs and changed the words so that it would be about her, sort of like a tribute to her, because I felt sad that she had this like life-altering disease. So that's the first song I remember like truly writing beginning to end. But before that, I have recordings of like... Baby, I literally thought it was a rule, for real, thought it was a rule in music that you needed the word baby in there. So like there was a lot of baby.
That's so funny. Do you still have these recordings?
Yeah, I do.
Could you send me one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I love sharing them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be the best episode ever. And everybody will be delighted to now hear a recording from young Veronica.
Just remember, you have to stay free. Never stop moving. Free it all. Hold that up to the chorus. Oh, note to self. Hold that up into the chorus. Then it goes, never in love for the freedom of life. Don't be afraid to gamble the dice. And then stop the free it all. End it right at dice, and then go, and then it's if you free it all to another place. So the two things are going on at once. One thing is going, if you free it all to another place, while another is, if you free it all to another place, and then it goes, you're most likely when the race.
So you started to sing very, very early on, right?
Yeah. yeah, I'm pretty sure like my earliest memory is of at least like hearing music. And I don't remember a time when I wasn't singing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it that you were surrounded by music or?
Yes, in many ways, my mom loved music. She would always be playing it. She wasn't so much a musician herself, although she sang a lot in the house. So she would be playing the Beatles or Joe Cocker, or, Queen, and dancing around, just always music playing. So that is what kind of got it in my orbit, I would say. Or sitting in the back of the car as a little girl and she'd have the music playing on a cassette or something. And yeah, for whatever reason, I really took to it from a very young age. Yeah.
Is that something you were able to do at school as well?
Yeah. I was in like choir in elementary school, although the first year they have you sing happy birthday and they go around and choose like if you're good enough to join the chorus, as it was called. And I wasn't selected the first time and I was so upset, but I hid it. I didn't tell anyone I was upset. I was just like, my neighbor friend Travis, he got in the chorus. I was like, I didn't even want to be in it anyway. But really I did. So the next year when I got in, I was very happy. So yeah, that's how it started. And then I went to middle school. I went to what's called a magnet in Los Angeles or California in general. It's kind of specialized schools. So I went to performing arts magnet and did musical theater and
okay, so acting as well, dancing.
Yeah, exactly. So my physical education wasn't sports; it was dancing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then same thing in high school. I did electronic music and choir and da-da-da. And then in college, I did ethnomusicology. So I've always been in like some sort of schooling for music, but not a traditional route, I would say. Not like conservatory. I'm not a classical or jazz musician. It's more kind of, I don't know, found my route in that way.
And so when did you learn to play an instrument? First time?
First time, I mean, really the first time was piano when I was maybe like 6, 7 years old. But I did really well and I really loved it. And I think my parents couldn't afford lessons. I never quite understood why lessons stopped, but I'm pretty sure my parents couldn't afford it, which is unfortunate. I would be concerto player by now. But then I picked up a guitar when I was, I think, 14 and started teaching myself from a book. So that was the first instrument after singing.
And then you picked up other instruments after, right?
Eventually, really, it was guitar for much of it. But in my schooling, I always had some sort of piano class or like keyboard, harmony, like different kinds of piano courses. But it always felt very separate from my personal music. And I think in receiving that kind of education with piano, it didn't quite set me up creatively. It was like, okay, I was learning scales and I was learning chords and I was learning how to read music, but I wasn't able for whatever reason to apply it to like songwriting or sit down without a piece of music or something. So it actually has taken many years. And even still, I don't play piano that much. Like sometimes live, I'll play like in someone else's band, I'll play some keys or something. But it's still something that feels quite fresh for me, of like a different approach, or like I feel less versed in piano because for a long time it was so separated for whatever reason. Yeah.
Although it probably nourished your guitar practice in a way.
Yeah, guitar, I think, like I had this book, it was like beginning rock guitar. So I do well when someone gives me structure. So that book gave me a structure where it was like, okay, I learned these scales, learned the pentatonic scale, and then I learned some of these riffs. And then, you know, I liked the White Stripes and learned some of their songs and et cetera, et cetera. But as I was talking about recently to someone, I didn't learn that many covers because I would get so inspired in the middle of learning a scale or learning someone else's song that I'd be like, slow it down or speed it up and end up writing my own song.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so now you've been writing your own songs for such a long time. How did your practice kind of evolve?
From then? Or
from when you were 8 years old?
Oh, yeah.
From the baby?
Well,
When did you realize that you didn't have to put the word baby in?
when did I learn that that was not a rule? I'm not sure. Maybe I was right. Maybe it is a rule. Yeah, I guess in high school, I was very lucky to go to a performing arts school that taught me recording, and we had an after school recording club, but as well as some of my like classes during the day. So I got into production that way, and I was always just trying to copy my favorites, really. Not like necessarily copy their songs, but I loved the Beatles and the Doors, and as a teenager, you're writing about whatever, love, even as adults, we do. At that time, actually, I wrote a song on guitar, usually on electric or acoustic guitar, and that was mainly it. And then I got a group together eventually in college. It was kind of more folk style with electric in there too. So it's been a long process, and now I feel very liberated in that I'm able to fully produce and write a song like on my own, like in my room if I want. Whereas before, I think it took a lot of years for me to feel secure enough or confident enough to like have my sound, or like to not rely on other people to help me maybe craft a sound or something. I mean,
so would you start writing and just have to like need someone to listen to it in order to continue, or?
I guess when I first started writing and playing shows, they were solo. It was me on acoustic guitar for many years. And I felt too insecure in high school to even have a band or start a band, which in hindsight, I realized, wow, how, I don't want to say ridiculous or dumb, because I want to be kind to that inner teenager, but like just kind of sad almost, of just like, that is the time to start a shitty band.
Yes, yes.
But I think part of the issue is that I've always been surrounded by such incredibly talented musicians, because I went to music schools, that I felt very insecure. I never felt like a musician, actually. I knew I was a songwriter. I was like, I know that's my strong point. But I didn't feel a musician enough, because through jazz musicians, classical, even punk, whatever, just like really shreddy, like great fun. Oh, sorry, I'm about to cuss. Can I do that? Really great musicians, and so I felt like I know what I can do, and that's write songs and like play on my own. So I did that for a long time, and then in college, eventually, I like got a double bass player and a violin player and a drummer, and mostly jazz people that were playing with me. So I was like influenced by that. I recorded a little bit my stuff, but at that time, that was like 2007, 8, around then. I don't think it was as easy. I had to rely on other musicians more for recording, or like studio space that I couldn't afford. So I didn't really have many recordings for a long time. And then eventually I moved to like this certain neighborhood in LA, Echo Park, and that's when like collaborations increased, and I started to join other people's bands, and then I started to finally like get the band together that I wanted, with the sound of like this big like rock sound. So it was like a slow development, but now I feel a lot more empowered, and partly because of the tools that are available, and like being able to just program some drums easier, use a loop or whatever that maybe I replace, maybe not. I just feel so much more free now in many ways, I guess. Yeah.
And coming to London from LA to do loads of masters.
Yeah, collecting those degrees like it's 1993. No, I don't know.
So why?
Life is a funny thing. I clearly always have loved school. Often thought of going back for a master's. Always wanted, I studied abroad here in London in my undergrad for a year, and always wanted to move back. I've always loved it here. Again, Spice Girls.
Yes.
For real.
They're waiting for you.
Oh my God. Sporty, if you're listening, I love you. Let's have tea. Yeah, I always wanted to move back, and it's not easy. You can't just like up and move to England. You need some sort of visa situation.
Yes.
And so I often thought, well, it's either I get married or I go to school. Like, I don't know about the marriage part. So in 2017, I like toured Goldsmith's campus and I started an application. I was like, maybe. And then I just couldn't justify. I was like, that's a lot of money. And I don't know if I actually want to spend all that on another music degree that I'm not going to do anything with. Like, come on. But then that thought never left my brain. I want to move back. So in sometime post-lockdown, I came back to visit again after a few years and still the thought was there. I toured Goldsmith's campus and I just decided, I was like, I'm going to just do it.
Yeah.
Life is short and I'm going to do it. And within 6 months, it was like, boom, boom, boom. And here I am. Yeah.
And so which master did you do when you arrived?
Master of Music in Popular Music.
Okay.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Did it teach you?
I took, interestingly, what's called an ethnographic film and music research class. And so in that, I made like my first kind of documentary, I guess you could say. It is an ethnographic film, but I did like a 15-minute film on my friend who's a DJ and producer.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was really cool. So I learned like all this video editing and stuff. I took an audiovisual composition class. I took a production class. I'm confusing which ones I took in the last degree.
I guess it's so good as well if you want to edit your own video clips and things like that.
Yeah. It's like becoming a one-stop shop, pretty much. Yeah, I did some composition and then using the studio spaces there, like getting to practice engineering and stuff. I know I had more classes in there.
And then which master did you do?
And then now I'm in an MFA for creative practice, which is the same department, still music. It's broader and the final project is much bigger, so it's not just an album, which the other one was. It's an album plus
so your album went out at the end of your
the album I have out it was not part of this.
Okay.
It's a different album that I haven't put out yet. I really need to get on the releases. One thing about being a student is it really keeps you busy moving forward, but not necessarily releasing stuff. So that's my goal.
Wow.
In the next few months.
Because your last album was released in what,
2020.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was December 2020. And it was just like, I had to let it go. It was like, it took quite a while, years to like really write those songs, like, because they weren't all written at the same time. Some of those I started writing in college.
Wow.
So it really was a long process of finding my voice and money. It's like, it's not cheap to go into a studio and record. And,
so how did you do it? Did you do it in one go?
I recorded at this wonderful place in Echo Park called Station House Studio with this guy named Mark Rains. And we tracked live to tape because at that time in Echo Park, it's very cool to do analog and, 60s influence stuff. So we live tracked to tape and then did a lot of overdubs.
I don't know what this means.
Okay.
I'm kind of like saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
no.
Nowadays, most people record digitally, just into the computer.
Yeah.
Right. So we recorded a live band onto actual tape, like old school style, bass, drums, guitar, vocals. However, then we go back digitally and like add other things on top, like horns or whatever, and maybe fix if there are like issues in whatever live performance. It wasn't completely live, is what I'm saying, but it started off as a band in the room.
Okay, and how did you? Was it a band that you were performing with? Or?
Yeah. Some friends of mine that were regularly part of my live show. And my friend Matt Adams, shout out the Blank Tapes. He helped produce the album and was really a big help. So initially I recorded my whole demo of the album with Matt because he has a tape machine. And so we did it with him and then went into the studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I really like this album. I don't know, it's such a... can really give you energy, I feel like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm proud of it. My new stuff is different. I'll send you some. I should have done that before. But
Yeah, I'm very curious now. And how do you find working for yourself compared to working for other people?
Like musically?
Yeah.
I think they work different sides of my brain and my soul. Like, Producing for other people is still very fresh and very new to me. I'm currently working on a track with my friend Glow in LA. Shout out Blue Wisteria. Shout out Glow.
So do you work like long distance?
This one is long distance, yeah. And she just sent me bass and vocals. And basically I heard her play it for me and I was like, I want to produce this. So she sent that stuff to me and I'm just playing around, adding instruments, like arrangements. A lot of it is really arrangements. And, you know, I'm still figuring out my voice in terms of a producer for other people, especially because there's also a bit of a compromise, you know, because when I initially sent her the idea I had, she was like, this is too groovy, like too da-da-da, whereas that's what I was hearing. I was like, okay, so now I have to take in someone else's kind of vision and apply it. So that's new to me as opposed to like, no, I have the final say.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of communication to really try to understand what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
And respect that.
Yeah, and it feels, more restricting, but not in a bad way. Just more like, oh, right, I forgot, like, it's not just what I want to do. Maybe the other one will be like a Veronica remix or something.
And do you feel like it impacts actually your work?
It's hard to say because it's still in such a new process, but I think so. It's helping me kind of learn and dig into what is my language, like what is my personal style. Can I hear bits of myself? Yes, definitely when it's my own music, but can I hear it when it's someone else's? Like, do I have signatures or trademarks? What is my sound and why would someone come to me as a producer? These are questions. I don't have the answers necessarily, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your acting career?
Yes.
How?
It's been a while.
How did it start?
Okay, yes. So my dad was an actor. He was an actor as well as my mom. And then when he had kids, me and my sister, he like stopped for many years. And well, now I'm going into my dad's story. Long story short, my dad was an actor. So ever since, again, when I was little, I wanted to get into that. But I don't think he even really knew, for whatever reason, I wasn't able to get into it from very young. One day I realized, again, it's like life is short. Let me do this thing that I've always wanted to do. I've always been so focused on music, like tunnel vision. I don't have time for other things, da-da-da. And this is a part of me that's always been untouched, or maybe a little bit through musical theater and stuff. And basically, my dad had an agent, and I think I just asked him, I was like, will you represent me? Or just like, it was very simple. It was just like, yeah, okay. Didn't need an audition or send a headshot or anything. It was just like, okay, my dad's agent is my agent. Like a small boutique agent. And so I got headshots together and he started sending me out on commercial auditions. And then I started taking acting classes over the years and just really love it. And I had taken acting classes over the years in the past, but this time something was different. Like it clicked more. Suddenly I understood a bit more what acting was on a deeper level. Like not just reading lines off a page, but what is it actually? Oh, okay. This whole other creative side, and I love it. I just haven't done it since moving to London because not allowed visa-wise. But also,
so you can't work?
No, not on a student visa. Not until I graduate.
That's crazy. When do you graduate?
September. And then I grow up and I'm in the real world and I'm scared.
Oh, wow. And then you can apply for like a work visa or
graduate visa. Okay. So then I'm planning on jumping back into acting, and it was really cool to like, I did quite a few commercials and it was all like very fresh and new for me, and taking classes for TV. I wasn't booked for any TV or theatrical or anything. But it was feeling really good, especially in a city like LA where I was getting like pretty regular auditions. So it felt good. And then I'm like, now I'm going to move to London.
You like challenges, right?
I do.
Getting out when it gets comfortable. You're like, bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it might help you as well with your video clips because I had a look on YouTube
Oh, okay.
and I really love them. And it's visible that you're comfortable with the camera.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
you also wrote a song about Paris.
Yes! Ah, Paris.
What inspired you?
Yeah, that was one day in LA. My friend, who I won't say who it was, but a fellow musician friend, he was tripping real hard on some acid, and I think I ran into him or something, and we just started hanging out, and I think he was a bit too high or something, so I took him to my apartment, and we were just like chatting. I was just trying to like help keep him a bit grounded and stuff, and I was like, I had some records, and I said, okay, I'm gonna run my hand along the records, tell me when to stop, and that's the one I'll put on. So he goes, stop. And it happened to be like French bossa nova love songs or something like that. I was like, okay, here we go. We put it on. And then I put on this fake French accent and was like trying to like walk him through his mind to, Paris, we eat a croissant. And I'm walking him through the streets of Paris to try to like make him laugh. And I just kept going, Paris. And yeah, so that's actually what the song was inspired by, like me helping my friend through this acid trip and like fantasizing about being in Paris or, So yeah, it's quite directly related to that of like, it's the idea of escapism of like, we can be anywhere in our mind. Like
you went to Paris though to
do the video. Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
I had a trip to Paris planned and I just like made a post. Like, anyone know someone who does videos? And this girl, she was a film student there and was willing to do it. So we just romped around Paris and did this video. Yeah, really, really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And when you write songs, do you feel like you have the same process somehow? Or is it really different and unique depending on which song?
I think it really depends. And also, I try sometimes to challenge myself by doing things in a different way. Because I think that's what can spark things that I otherwise maybe wouldn't have thought of. So sometimes I'll sit at the computer and just be like, blah, 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 I don't know what to do.
Story of my life.
Yeah, just stare and be like, that's it, I'm done. I have no more songs. But sometimes I'll pull up a loop, maybe put that down, come up with a riff, put that on a loop. Sometimes I'll sit at the piano, not as often, but sit at the piano and start playing some chords and sing over that. I used to almost exclusively sit down at my guitar and start writing. I was a bit more of a purist, like back in the day, like if it's a real good song, like you should just be able to play it on the guitar and sing without production. And now I've learned over the years, there's no right or wrong, like whatever inspires you. And I really enjoy writing like straight kind of into the computer, or sometimes recently I've been experimenting with some more analog gear and maybe some synths or just kind of experimenting a lot. So it really depends. But typically I would say I sit down at the computer, plug my guitar in, maybe get some sort of drum loop or riff going and go from there. I've been mostly inspired by that right now.
And do you feel like coming to London has influenced your music?
Yeah, sometimes I think about that. It's always hard to gauge because there's so many things that influence writing. It's a very good question. I feel like it must. I don't know. But I can never quite put my finger on it of like how much my environment affects my songwriting.
Maybe that's something you'll realize 5 years later or something when you have a bit more distance. Because
totally. Because for example, my album that I have out, that now I hear, I was so influenced by the musical world I was immersed in LA, where it was like very like so many like 60s people dressed in 60s outfits and like very influenced by 60s. And now when people hear my album, they're like, oh, it's so retro sounding. Whereas to me, when I was making it, I was like, this doesn't sound retro.
Yeah.
And now I hear it, I'm like, oh, I know what they mean. So yeah, I'll probably look back. Like, I don't know, I'm writing a lot of like angry.
You'll be like, oh, London is.
Yeah. Yeah, the stress of the city.
It does
Like,
make me angry.
yeah.
What are we all doing here?
Yeah, I'm in a rush, but I'm not in a rush. So why am I in a rush? I feel like I need to be in a rush.
Especially around Camden, it's like
Oh my God.
with all the tourists as well, and
Oh, yeah. It's madness there.
panic attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I try to avoid it if I can in the middle of the day on a weekend.
Yes. And summer is coming.
Yeah.
I've read in somewhere that you also like to share about mental health issues, especially with addictions, which is quite present in the music industry and in London.
Yeah.
Do you want to share about that and why it's important to you? And
Yeah. Basically, I have been sober and in recovery for now. In August, it'll be 6 years, so quite a while, which sounds like an out-of-body experience to even say. And I think I like sharing about it because of my personal experiences and knowing that there's such a stigma around it when it's like, addiction, alcoholism, these things are mental illness, like anything else is a mental illness, and it's such a tricky one because so much blame is put onto the sick person in our societies of like, and even in my own ignorance in the past, maybe why can't just don't do it? If it was that, it's like telling someone with anxiety, just don't be anxious. It's like, oh, right. Why didn't I think of that? If it was that easy. So yeah. And I think a lot of times sharing our own story can help other people, like see if they hear themselves in the story, and if they're struggling, that maybe they can help. And I have firsthand like so much personal experience. Like I lost my sister in 2017 to addiction, and just I come from a family, both sides of like alcoholism and addiction. So it's been very prevalent in my life for much of my life. And like I feel very blessed and lucky to like be in a pretty damn good place in my life where I saw, in music, like it was so easy for me to blame my surroundings. Like, again, like back in that neighborhood in Echo Park where it was like, I don't know, have you ever been to LA?
No.
So it's like very much you drive everywhere. But that particular neighborhood was like, I lived across from a music venue and then you're next door to a bunch of bars and all our friends like lived in the neighborhood. It was like the Echo Park bubble. It was like so easy to not leave that neighborhood. It's kind of like if it all was in Hackney, it was just like everything was so close.
Yeah, you don't really need to travel somewhere else.
Yeah, which is unusual in LA. And so it was just like party all the time, every night of the week. And, after a while of that, I just found that for me personally, I was losing sight of like what actually brought me joy. I think I was kind of seeking connection and love and fulfillment, but from the wrong places, really. And I wasn't creating as much as I wanted to. Even though I was playing in bands and playing shows and stuff, I just knew like I was not in alignment and didn't want to go down a darker path than I already was going as someone prone to anxiety and depression anyway. Like adding substances on top of that just doesn't help. And so, yeah, I just like, had enough grace where I was able to like walk through that window of grace, as they call it, and have been sober, and it's pretty wild.
That's really amazing.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah. I struggle a bit with alcohol actually in London. Like I feel like I drink more here than I used to.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I drink for the right reasons as well. So, and I feel like so many creative people are very sensitive and all these substances are either a way to numb a little bit or maybe help releasing the pressure, but long term it really works out. So I'm very curious about how that impacts.
Yeah, I mean, I think like artistic, creative people in general are quite sensitive, and I think addicts / alcoholics also are. And these types of people who are not even just addiction, but any kind of mental illness, really, I think we are often quite drawn to the arts because of that release or like maybe that need for expression, or as they say, we're so much more in touch with kind of maybe our feelings or just like the world in general. I think artists, at least for me, it's like sometimes it's just so sensitive to so many things. And I think that's partly,
It's overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure accountants can be sensitive and like lawyers and stuff. I don't know, but like,
Tell us.
Yeah. But, there's something about crystallizing the human experience into a piece of art that has us going to dark places or in reverse, like the dark places we go to, like we need that outlet to funnel that through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also, especially in this society we're in, like, it's a debate. Are addicts born addicts? Are they nurtured into addiction / alcoholism?
I guess it's a bit of both, probably.
Yeah. And I use those terms interchangeably, but like, I think our society, Western society in particular, these days is really cultivated towards addiction. Like, not to be like a capitalist hater or something, but like the whole premise of capitalism, especially today with social media and ads, they are pumping us with dopamine constantly. Oh, every time I get a like, every time I get a play on Spotify, every time I get it's dopamine.
You can see the numbers
reward.
Also well,
yeah,
everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Reward. To the point where it's like we just need more and more. And then they try to sell us something to make us feel better. Oh, you're depressed or you're lacking in this. Well, how? And then you get an ad for, oh my God, that's a cute shirt. I'm going to buy that, and then you feel better for a second and then back on the loop. So I think in many ways, like, in the dark way of looking at it, it's like they're kind of breeding behavioral addictions, at least, with spending and social media. And that's why I think a lot of young kids are really struggling. It's very sad that we see young kids struggling with depression and suicide and all this. I think we hopefully can find a way to make things better for people. Yeah.
Do you have music recommendations?
Ooh, yeah. Very first thing that came to mind was the band Sault, Sault. Really great band. I want to say they're based out of London. They're kind of a mystery group because I don't really know who's a part of it. I think the singer's name is like Chloe or something, but it's like a team of, I think, producers and singers and songwriters. They're really cool, kind of soul folk vibe. Really cool. Recently, I just saw Lambrini Girls play in Brixton. So good. Feminist political punk band. Like, yes, so good. Love them. Also, I've been on the Americana front of things. This singer named Gillian Welch, she has an album called, I think it's called Soul Journey. And it's just these beautiful Americana songs that are like really nice to sing to. And I'm really into that. It was released quite a few years ago, but those are some song recommendations.
Random questions of the end. What makes you laugh?
Absurd things, like just like random, like absurd things, if that makes sense.
Do you believe in talent?
Yes, I do believe in talent, and I believe in working hard, and you're able to develop talent as well.
Do you like to go to the supermarket?
Oh God, no, I don't. But once I'm there, I'm kind of in the flow and in it, But getting me to go to the grocery store, it's a mission.
If you could have dinner with anyone, alive or dead, who'd it be?
Oh my God. I think I would have to say John Lennon.
Oh.
Yeah. I know. I'm a basic bitch. And, people can say what they want about him. I'm a John Lennon girl. That's my number one. Yeah.
If you could live a parallel life, what would you do?
I've often thought of this. And sometimes I wonder, will my parallel lives just be my life now, but later? I'd love to be like a photographer. Or lately I've been weirdly into the law, not gonna lie.
What?
Maybe a lawyer.
What?
Yeah. Weird.
What do you mean you've been weirdly into the law?
Oh, following some court cases. Let's just say that in America, just being really invested with like actually understanding like the Constitution and previous cases that have gone on and being genuinely interested in it and learning how important it is to actually know these things.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a recent development.
That's so interesting.
But maybe in a parallel life and be a lawyer. I don't know.
Thank you so much. Do you want to finish with playing a song?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I feel like I could talk forever. Hopefully I wasn't boring. I'll play this old ditty that it's my hit that wasn't a hit. It's called If Love's a Gun, I'm Better Off Dead. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off dead. Bang, bang, shoot, shoot me down. I like it rough and you like it round. We're lying in your bed, honey. Explosions in my head. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off dead. Yeah, yeah. Aggression, you push it, babe. Temptation, you push it, babe. Since I met you, it just ain't the same. Pretty soon, you're gonna change my name. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off dead. Alright. I've always been a crazy singer. Said fuck suburbia, I want some danger. But you'll put that ring onto my finger. Soon we'll be shopping for coffee percolators. If love is flowers and love is danger, change your lady's name and make her a stranger. And if love is power, then love's a gun. And if love's a gun, I'm better off dead. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, babe. If love's a gun, you're my trigger, bang. If love's a gun, better off. If love's a gun, better off. If love's a gun, better off dead. Thank you.